This video will change at least one person's life who watches it all the way through to the end. At least one person will realize what they are capable of and what their potential is. That one person could be you, and your life could change now. So if you've had a job interview before, a very common question that you may get asked is, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? And while the funny answer to that is, well, probably in your job, I want to reimagine that question and direct it across to gig workers, specifically across to Doordash, Uber Eats, drivers, people doing gig work for food delivery. So I'll phrase the question to you directly, where do you see yourself in 5 years from now? And guys, let's not talk about, well, if I invest money and do certain financial moves, then I should be here. Let's just look directly at the job itself, the gig jobs itself, doing food delivery. Now, in 5 years from now, if you're working only gig apps, you are still going to be working only gig apps. There is no promotions for being a Doordash driver. There's no tenure. You're getting the same offers as everyone else. And sure, you might, after a few years, be like, okay, cool. Well, I know my zones very well. I know all the shortcuts to take around my zones. I know which restaurants to avoid. I know when to work. I can optimize my earnings. I know the apps very well. I've learned how to use the apps very good. I learned how to multi-app, and you've optimized your earnings through that way. But end of the day, you're still on the same playing field as someone coming to the gig apps on day one, getting the same offers as them. So this video is not really targeted towards people who've already hit certain financial milestones in their life, and they're like, yeah, I just do a little bit of gig work for some, extra fun money to play around with because I already hit my financial goals in life. Maybe you've already been working for 30 years at a company and you're like, cool, I got sick of working at the company, so I've retired or semi-retired, and now I'm just doing gig work for a little bit of extra income, but my head's above water. And it's not for people who are, retired already, and it's like, yeah, this is supporting my supplementing my pension. And it's, not really for people with family situations. Maybe you're a stay-at-home mum, you got the kids. This is for, I guess, the straight working class full-time workers who are out there and they're just doing gig work right now and they're not doing anything else. I just want to have a chat to you guys to maybe prompt some ideas. The blunt truth is, guys, is doing gig work, it's a zero barrier entry job. There's no skills you can really learn from this thing. All you learn is how to drive around, read maps, and very basic communication with a restaurant and a customer. That's all it is. You may think you're doing customer service. You're like, yeah, I'm being really nice to people. Being nice to people, guys, is not customer service. I'll tell you exactly why. Because as soon as there's a problem with the order, who do you contact as a driver? You contact customer support. Look, guys, being nice to people is not customer service, okay? It's part of customer service, of course, but it is not customer service. And I'll tell you why. Your role as a delivery driver is not customer service. It's because as soon as there's a big problem with the order, who do you contact? You contact support, which is customer service. And you as the driver are the customer to that support agent. And support resolves issues. Your job is just to deliver around the food, do the basics, and you know what? Yeah, be nice. Be nice to the customers. That is all you need to do. If shit hits the fan and an order goes terribly wrong, you contact support, and then support does a customer service role. Which brings back to, you're not really gaining any skills. You're not really learning any skills from this job. And because the job's got no career progression, in 5 years from now, you're still going to be doing the exact same thing, getting the same offers as someone on day one would be getting. So I always say, guys, take the best contract on the table. That doesn't apply to just multi-apping. That applies to 40 hours a week that you dedicate to full-time work. Then anything past 40 hours, do your side hustles, do gig work. Do it that way. So focus 40 hours on the best contract on the table, and in 5 years from now, it's not going to be gig work. So you got to start now to make sure in 5 years' time, you've set yourself up for success. And look, guys, I know that full-time drivers are going to be pissed off at me saying this kind of stuff, but guys, just think. Before you get angry, just think along with me. Follow my train of thought around this stuff. In 5 years' time, offers are not getting any CPI, so the offer values aren't moving up in line with inflation. So you're actually getting a pay cut each year that you stick around this for that 40 hours of work that you're doing full time. You're getting a pay cut each year. Plus, on top of that, as markets saturate through with more drivers on, algorithmically, they're dropping even further. So it's a double whammy, getting paid less and less as time goes on. Hence why for 40 hours worth of work, you should be getting a full-time job that has skills where you can progress ahead. So in 5 years' time, you might be up a rung on the career ladder. You may have learned some skills that are transferable across to different job markets. But if you just truly love to drive, driving is your passion, that's all you want to do. You want to do them long grinds, them 100-hour weeks, and you want to be driving, doing that. I'm going to give you some career advice now, and this is probably going to be best suited towards young people who aren't settled down with a family, or even if you do have a family, it's something to weigh up. But even still, young people, this is probably the most powerful thing I can say to you right now that's going to change your life. If you truly love driving, you want to do 100-hour grinds, spend the next 1 month saving up money to get your tickets, do your courses, and because you've got flexible gig work right now, you can take time off to do them courses. 2, get out to the mines. Go drive dump trucks out in the mines. They'll pay $120,000 a year, if not more, for 100 hours worth of work. Doing food delivery, you're not going to make $120,000 take home a year in Australia. You just can't do it. The way our tax brackets are structured in Australia, the way that GST is going to kick in as soon as you start earning $75,000 or more, then plus the depreciation, wear and tear, fuel costs, everything else like that, the insurance costs on your vehicles, you need to be earning like $150,000, $160,000 a year before all them costs take off to make the same as just going out to the mines. And the longer you work in the mines, the more your pay goes up. Guys, if you got into the mines to drive trucks 5 years from now, you might start at 120,000, you might be at 140, 150 in 5 years from now. If not, you may have transferred across to use different plant and operating equipment. Or if you don't want to go to the mines, go get your MR license, go get your HR license for truck driving. Find local truck jobs. One of my friends who was doing Doordash and Uber Eats, he's just gone and got himself a full-time job driving a truck. And it's not interstate driving or anything like that, guys. It's just local truck driving for a business. He's earning $36 an hour right now, and that's not taking out fuel and wear and tear and all that kind of stuff. The company provides the vehicle for him to drive, and then he's getting about 10 hours extra on overtime, time and a half penalty rates on that one. So he's making just under $2,000 a week for 50 hours of work. Now, doing Doordash and Uber Eats, for that kind of take home, you need to be making about $2,600 for 50 hours of work. No one's doing that. The work is just not that consistent. But he still goes out one night a week and he still does an Uber Eats quest run. But he used Doordash and Uber Eats as a stepping stone to get into that job, which is going to increase each year on his salary. So he's going to be moving ahead further and further, and he's getting experience in the trucking industry. He's now moved his financial situation from about $1,000 a week after his fuel and expenses doing Uber Eats and Doordash driving to about $2,000 a week take home. So he's not taking out them fuel and expenses and stuff. He has doubled his weekly take home from doing that simple move. And it's the skill driving trucks as well. So he might move from his current, I think he's got a MR license, and might move up to a HR license, get a heavy Richard, do the big road trucks if he chooses to. Otherwise, there's plenty of companies hiring truck drivers, and he can move around companies, he can trade, take the best offer. If he doesn't like an employer that he's working for, he can shop around and be like, cool, these guys are paying more, I'll go work for them, give them a try. But that's if you truly love driving, guys. There's options out there that are going to pay double of what you're earning right now on Doordash and Uber Eats. Doordash, Uber Eats, Menulog, all the food delivery services, they're great as a side hustle, but for a core income, for a career, for 5 years down the track, terrible. Absolutely terrible. And guys, I don't give a crap about the stigma. It's like, oh, you can't cut it as a full-time gig worker, or you just can't adapt enough. Guys, I'm just going to be blunt here, okay? That's ridiculous. That's just people trying to self-preserve. Sure, you can make a living as a gig worker, but in 5 years down the track, you're going to be kicking yourself if you're thinking this is a career. You're absolutely shooting your legs out. It is 5 years of potentially developing skills completely wasted. So guys, I'll use my story talking about career. So with gig work, I do that now. I've been doing it for about 2.5 years now, but as a side hustle. It's not my full-time job. So I try to use gig work to make an extra $15,000 per year is my goal. Anything above that, that's just gravy on top. So I aim 15. If I hit 20, fantastic. But 15 is my target per year. So extra 15,000 in revenue on top of my full-time job. So I'm going to go back about 15 years ago to young Chris, fresh young Chris in his early 20s. And I just want to show the power of them 5 years moving in progressions across. So about 15 years ago, I got a job. I just came out of university. from civil engineering. I dropped out of civil engineering, and then a friend gave me a shot working as a builder in Brisbane, I guess doing fit outs. We're doing fit outs. I was doing carpentry, plastering, painting, all across like QUT campus, all across a couple of them high rises in Brisbane CBD. Did that for a while, and then didn't really like working with them. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. I need to do something else. So I got a job working in sports marketing, and that was direct sales. So if you guys have been out to shopping centers and you see guys fundraising for charities, they're not volunteer workers, guys. They're sports marketers or event marketers. And so I was doing that. But back then, there wasn't very many protections around for people doing that kind of work. We were always independent contractors, just like gig workers are. But back then I was a gig worker doing sales marketing. So I'd get a 20% commission on whatever I sold. And I was selling raffle tickets and pins for charities back then. So if I sold a $10 raffle ticket, I'd get $2 for getting that sale on board. So if you can imagine, you need to sell a lot of raffle tickets to try and make ends meet. I used to work 60 hours a week. Every single week. That was Monday through to Saturday night, 60 hours a week, and I'd earn anywhere between $400 a week to my best weeks about $2,500 across a week. And that's when I go on what we call a road trip. We'd head out to North Queensland to Fresh Turf, where the charity marketers hadn't been recently, and then that's where I'd make the big earnings. But just around local, 60 hours a week for $400. It was terrible. Absolutely terrible. And you know what? I wasn't bad at the job either. I was pretty good. But terrible income, terrible earnings. I was getting, I think McDonald's workers were earning double to triple what I was earning. If you factored in overtime, they were earning like, three to four times what I was earning for the hours put in. But after doing that for about a year, I was like, you know what? This sucks. This is terrible pay. And I used them sales skills. I'd talk to 1,000 people a week. I'd pitch 1,000 people a week, face to face, selling them charity, essentially. And I used them sales skills that I built from just getting bulk rejected, from just being like, yeah, you know what, let's go for this. Let's try and upsell to the biggest package so I get the most commission I can. I used them sales skills, which landed me a job across at Telstra. So transferred skills that I learned in sales to Telstra. Now, working at Telstra, I was in a retail store selling product, and the job, guys, is to sell plans, sell phones, move product, get people signed up, get them through their renewals, try upsell any warranties, whatever it is that they tell you to sell at the time. So I worked at Telstra, but that was an introduction to contract selling. So I was selling contracts, 2-year plans. I was selling 2-year plans on home internet. It was NBN wasn't out back then, guys. So it was DSL2, DSL2 Plus, and home phone plans, selling mobile phone plans, selling Samsung Galaxy 2, Samsung Galaxy 3s. What were we selling back then? Was the iPhone? Oh God, you spin it back, like iPhone 5. I remember the iPhone 5 launch day, and people queue up and stuff, and you just bulk sell through iPhones on plans, man. They were really good commission days. But yeah, worked across on that. And at that point, I was learning technology. I was learning contract selling. And also, still sharpening up them sales skills, keeping on top of them sales skills, just selling in a different way. Instead of just going through volume, it was focusing on just one account at a time. How can I service this customer for the best account at the time? Now, after a few years of doing that, I ended up working, I took a role then at an insurance company selling insurance. So moved from selling contracts for phone plans to selling insurance. And because I'd worked at Telstra selling contracts, they're like, okay, this guy understands compliance, this guy understands how to sell contracts over plan, and then moved into insurance sales. And then I worked in sales for about a year before I have an aptitude to start learning as much as I can around me. So I sucked in the insurance industry and was like, what can I learn about insurance? What can I learn about the company that I'm working for? And after about a year, I got an opportunity to move across into the claims department. So shifting across into the claims department, then it was a whole new exposure, whole new skill sets to learn. So guys, I've moved from just selling raffle tickets on the streets across to selling phone plans, across to selling insurance contracts in a 5-year period. So it's 5 years locked down. So huge progression. I'd moved from about, let's call it 400 a week, all the way up to, I think, insurance. I was earning about $1,000 a week as entry sales for that. So 2.5 times increase to my earnings. But then shifting into claims, it became a lot more about processing, a lot more about compliance, talking to not only just the customers lodging the claims, but I was talking to panel shops, investigators, I was talking to suppliers. It was just a broad spectrum of the insurance industry, and I learned how insurance works at a cog level. But across that time, I was inquisitive and I kept learning every situation possible and being like, well, how does this work? How does this work? This scenario, how does this work? How can I move a car that is being held by police in a holding yard across to one of our panel shops? What paperwork do I need to do with the Queensland Police Service for them to be indemnified to release it across so I can get a tow truck, call up a tow truck driver and get it towed out from there? So learning all these paperwork trails, all these processes, I learned that in claims. So now we're moving across into the, the more recent, coming into the more recent 5 years. I got an opportunity. I actually chased it down very, very rigorously at a certain insurance company, and it was for quality assurance in IT. So it's not quality assurance as in like, are people saying the right things on the phone? No, this was IT quality assurance. So testing software for the insurance companies. Because by that point, I had about 5 years under my belt from being on the phones at the insurance company and learning all the cogs and how all the processes worked. It was a transition across into the IT space to start learning how software and systems worked from that level. So now we've gone from selling raffle tickets on the street, across to selling phones on contract, across to selling insurance policies, across to processing claims for an insurance company, to now moving into the software side of insurance. So I spent a year working on the job doing quality assurance for an insurance company in the IT space. I learned how, like back-end tables worked. I learned how, APIs worked. I learned how everything moves around. I was working with developers, next to developers, learning how coding works and how they think and how they process code, and testing their code and writing test cases and writing gauntlets and scenarios to move through to make sure that the software and the code that they made works and was fit for use. After about a year in quality assurance, I got poached by another insurance company to work as a testing analyst for them. I got a significant increase on my salary for transferring companies because I had that skill set now. Not just insurance history, but also a specific IT skill set, which I learned along the way, which allowed me to transfer across to another company. And they were very, very interested and made a very good offer to get me to jump ship. And I've been with that new company for about 5 years now. I really learned, and I had to spend time as well going on like Udemy to Upskill. I had to learn JavaScript. I had to learn how to do use tools like Postman and all this other stuff. I had to learn how microservices worked. I had to essentially the full tech stack. I won't run through like all these tech terminology on this video, but I learned how to be a testing analyst, and then eventually, because I got very good at it, I got promoted up to a senior role as a senior testing analyst now, and that's my career progression. And from here, there's plenty more rungs around the ladder, different fields, and I've got a broad spectrum of different areas I could move across to from the skill set and knowledge that I have now. But if I just stayed there 15 years ago selling raffle tickets, and it was an eat what you kill mentality, just, yes, I'm going to sell as much as I can, and I'm not going to move, I'm not going to go anywhere, I'm just going to keep selling raffle tickets, I would be significantly behind from where I am in life right now, because I would not have learned any more skills except for sales back then. Transferable across to guys, if you were just doing DoorDash and Uber Eats delivery, that's all you're going to know. You're not going to have anything else to move ahead to. There's no career progression there. There's no moving ahead. There's no transferring around different companies. It's essentially download a new app, try a new app. That's the only avenues you have there, and you're going to get the same offers as someone showing up on day one, regardless of your tenure, regardless of your experience. So guys, the whole point of this video is 5 years from now, what are you doing today to set yourself up for 5 years from now? What skills are you going to start to learn for 5 years to now to be in a better position than you are now? I'll pose this question. If you were coming out fresh, 18 years old, entering the workforce, and say you had 35 years of work ahead of you, how many of those years, those 35 years, are you willing to waste on something that's not going to give you any skills or any progression in life? Because that's what gig apps are, guys. There's no skill involved and there's no progression. Sure, while you're trading time for money, and that's the point of it, it's a great side hustle for doing that, trading time for money, Are you trading time to get further ahead? Progression. Did you grow up wanting to be a delivery driver, or did you aspire for something different? Where's your passion? What do you truly care about? What skills do you want to develop in life? Chase something like that down for your 40 hours of work if you're a full-time worker, and then side hustle on top. Pick up the extra money on top. That's what I do. If you're currently working full-time on gig apps, use it as a stepping stone. Is there a course that you want to pay for? Is there something you want to study online? Or is there a small business startup that you want to do? Use the money to seed that course, to seed the funding for that small business. Don't just waste your life, guys. That's what I'm trying to get at right now. Don't waste your career. Get the most potential out of your life as you can. Do it as a side hustle, but on them core hours, 5 years from now, where do you want to be? What do you want to build for yourself with your life? Don't waste it. That's all, guys. That's all I want to touch base on. Think about it. After this video, if you are doing full-time gig work, what else would you rather be doing? And start building yourself towards that. Start taking the steps. Start doing the papers. Start doing what you need to do to get to where you want to be. Don't rely on these gig apps because you could be deactivated tomorrow. That's all, guys. Take it easy, think about it, and peace out.